So, welcome to the second dimension, everyone. My name is Jonathan, and I'm coming to you from Dimension 1, which is the dimension most of us live in. The second dimension is where animation is, and that's where I'm usually speaking to you from. But today we're here to celebrate 50,000 subscribers. Like, that's just wild to me. I've been doing YouTube for almost 5 years now, and just to think that we're here and, like, this is how far we've come, like, I don't know, it's just crazy. So of course you probably know that I put out a poll about a little over a week ago asking you guys for any questions, and that's basically just what I'm gonna do today. But before I do that, I know a lot of you have been wondering, why did I change my channel name from Phineas Flynn's Law to the second dimension? And I never really gave a full answer for that here, so I just want to take a moment to address that here at the start of the video, technically also answering this question about how many times I've changed my channel name. Basically, around the time of Candace Against the Universe, I had gotten a huge influx of new subscribers, kind of following for the Phineas and Ferb Milo content, and it was right around Candace Against the Universe that I was kind of starting to shift into talking about other shows like Amphibia. I was making like a couple Amphibia theories at the time, and I realized that Phineas Flynn's Law just really wasn't going to describe my content for the future, in addition to being a ripoff of two shows' titles. Now, I think there's definitely a time and a place for parody titles, but that just really wasn't something that was descriptive. And then also, I guess the main reason is that I couldn't tell people about my channel with the name Phineas Flynn's Law. I don't think there was a single time where I said, hey, my YouTube channel is Phineas Flynn's Law, and somebody was like, oh yeah, I know how to spell that, or just not asking any further questions. They'd be like, oh, can you repeat that? How do you spell that? And that's just really not good for channel growth. You want people to be able to, like, name your channel to their friends and not have to sort through, wait, what was it, Phineas, Flatius, Thor? Like, no, it's like, I want it to be simple. And the second dimension is simple, it's easy to remember, and there's also a couple other things I like about the name. Obviously, the second dimension allowed me to do all of the kind of dimension effects and really bring in that branding. But it also, I think, describes the channel a lot better than Phineas Flynn's Law, because, like, the second dimension, the plan was to talk about 2D cartoons. So, like, anything that's 2D, thus the second dimension. Then the original plan was for the third dimension where I talked about 3D cartoons, but I just felt it was kind of fruitless to put 3D cartoon reviews there when I have the audience here. Like, my Monsters at Work video would not have done numbers if it went on the third dimension channel. So I just gave it the third dimension intro, and then said, okay, if I talk about 3D cartoons from this point on, it's gonna be with that third dimension moniker. But the name also pays tribute to, obviously, Across the Second Dimension. So there's still that bit of Phineas and Ferb, so everybody who subscribed to the channel for Phineas and Ferb can still understand that, yes, Phineas and Ferb and Milo Murphy's Law and whatever Dan and Swampy create is probably always gonna be a part of the channel, no matter how many different places I go with it. So yeah, that's why it became the second dimension. It's easier to say, it provides clear and consistent branding, and I just like it more. I think it's just a big improvement over Phineas Flynn's Law. Hey, Editing Jonathan here. So I didn't realize how long this would go while filming. I just want to say all the questions are timestamped in the description. Feel free to skip around if you like. I know this is crazy long. Alright, on to the questions. Twin2 Builders asks, what got you hooked on animation, and what made you want to make this channel, and why Phineas and Ferb? So the thing that got me hooked on animation as a medium, I think, was really Milo Murphy's Law. That was when I really thought about, oh, I really like animation and the types of stories it can tell. And then subsequently DuckTales 2017, and just like the real power of Disney Channel storytelling. That was where I really like discovered it. I mean, as a kid, I always really loved animation. Obviously, Blue's Clues, Word Girl was huge, everything on PBS Kids, Martha Speaks and Curious George, and like, obviously Phineas and Ferb growing up was pretty big as well. But like, I never looked down on animation. I just think I gained a real appreciation for the art, like really studying Milo Murphy's Law and talking to the people, learning how the show is made and everything like that. And that's where I kind of developed my want to eventually become an animatic editor. But I think that's getting ahead of myself because somebody asked about that a little bit later. And then their next question was, what made you want to make this channel and why Phineas and Ferb? Well, I had a different YouTube page back in the day that was just like very personal. I posted lots of small stuff. Most of it's been unlisted at this point. But I watched a video, and I say this with all kindness to the person I'm talking about because they make great videos, but I watched this awful video about the Phineas and Ferb Milo Murphy's Law crossover by Valeskivum94, and I don't know if y'all know Vale. He he's a pretty good YouTuber, but sometimes you can tell that certain videos of his are like low effort, like he just put this together to have a video about it. And this video was like 5 minutes long about the crossover when it was like a year out from release. And it was clear that he hadn't watched any of season 1 of Milo. And the video had over 500,000 views. And so I was just like, if he can get 500,000 views talking about not even knowing the show, and I have like decent editing skills and know the show, I can definitely make a better version of this video and get 500,000 views. And so I really took that idea of let me explain the same thing but with the correct information, and that was my first video for the channel. That was where I said, all right, new channel. We're talking about the Phineas and Ferb and Milo Murphy's Law crossover timeline explained. That first video is still on the channel and it blew up. And that is something I'm very grateful for, because I feel like it takes a lot of YouTubers many videos before they get one that blows up. But my first one was just out of the gate hit. I was clearly like, okay, there's an audience for Milo Murphy's Law content, because it was kind of a desert on YouTube. And so as I was really obsessed with Milo Murphy's Law and waiting for the Phineas and Ferb crossover, that was really where the channel started. I said, okay, I'm going to be the person on YouTube that you come to for the trailer updates. And with all the insanity of how that crossover went down, I'm glad that I was there to document it all, because that was just wild. So yeah, that's why the channel started. And then as people really started to gravitate towards the content and enjoy it, I started to branch out, and hopefully I'll continue to branch out in the future. Lightspeed Murphy asks, would you want a Milo Murphy's Law game? To me, I imagine it to be like a LucasArts style adventure game in the vein of Sam and Max. Also thought of the same thing with the Ghost of Molly McGee. Absolutely, I would love a Milo Murphy's Law game. Like, I could imagine like a really simple Milo Murphy's Law like Temple Run style game where disaster is happening all around you and you have to avoid it. Or even like, you know, the video game episode of Milo where like it shows his life as a video game. I could actually see that being a video game. Obviously, I don't think we'll ever get one, as even like Disney's most successful shows don't get video games these days, but it would definitely be something I'd want. Ice Cream Hero asks, what do you think is Dr. Doofenshmirtz's most competent inator? Maybe the Eat It All inator? Like, he's not competent about why he makes it, but like as an invention, that's like really competent. Like the fact that you could just eat as much as you want, like that does solve overeating and obesity. I mean, I guess you could do the eye technology one that gets misused, like any of his inventions that are like accidentally used for good. But yeah, I'm gonna have to go with the Eat It All inator. Luigi Boy says, congrats, so glad to be part of the journey to 50K, thank you. If you would want any crossover between multiple animated series, which series would you want them to be? I feel like I've gotten most of the crossovers I've wanted. I think Gravity Falls and Phineas and Ferb would be really good just because they're both set in the summer. I wouldn't want that now because like both of those stories are complete and I don't want to break open either of those canons again, but I would really have enjoyed if Disney did that during the run. I already got a crossover chapter between Assassination Classroom and Saiki K. I mean, I wish it was animated, but like the crossover exists. Crossovers are really interesting. I definitely want to talk more about different cartoon crossovers in the future, and that might be the thing that makes me finally sit down and watch Lilo and Stitch the series. But yeah, I think Gravity Falls and Phineas and Ferb really would have been perfect if it was while they were both airing. Will you do a video about the Marvel shows on Disney XD? I keep seeing that people hate them, but I love them with all my heart, and all of them ended with a cliffhanger that hasn't been resolved. The only one I've seen is like the first season of Ultimate Spider-Man, and I wasn't enchanted with it. It didn't feel like low effort, it just didn't connect with me personally. And I haven't seen any of the other ones. I can't get past the art style. Like, it's just so blocky, and yeah, I just have a hard time moving past that. And last question, why is Gamora? Why is Gamora? It's a good question. Ryan Emerson asks, have you ever tried to watch other Disney Channel cartoons like Kim Possible and Fishhooks? I started Kim Possible. I was trying to watch it in chronological order, and I gave up. I need to just commit to Kim Possible. I've literally started it twice in chronological order, and I give up after like 6 or 7 episodes. It just is gonna take a while for me to warm up to the characters. I need to just like binge the whole first season to really like get into the vibe of the show. But as far as other Disney Channel shows, yeah, I've seen Gravity Falls, I've seen Star Versus, I didn't see Fishhooks. There's a lot of Disney XD stuff like that I missed. Like I didn't see 7D, I didn't see Motor City, I didn't see Tron Uprising. I saw Big Hero 6. Yeah, most stuff post 2013. Idea Media Analysis asks, if you created your own animated series, what would it be? Oh, I have a really great idea for an animated series. It's actually not fully animated. It's like part animated and part live action. I think there's a drought in good animated / live action content, especially on television. We had like that one Son of Zorn, Fairly Odd Parents, Otter, like nothing in the TV realm combining 2D with live action works. And so I really want to change that someday. Like, I have a great concept and premise. I don't really want to share it yet because the world of creative ideas just, I wouldn't want somebody else to take it. But like something that lives up to what Who Framed Roger Rabbit did for that. I guess if I were to do a fully animated series, I would want to do something like really high concept but also familiar. I really like that Phineas and Ferb, you can go to any episode and enjoy it. But I also like serialization and overarching storytelling, which is probably why I connected to Amphibia the most of the current Disney series. But I really would want to do something kind of similar to Milo, where like there's different eras of the show. Like the mid-season finale fundamentally changes Milo Murphy's Law once he meets Cavendish and Dakota. And so like you have the first segment is all bunch of episodes where this is the status quo. The next segment is a bunch of episodes where this is the status quo. And I would probably want to just kind of play off of that and off of just the cartoons that I've seen. But yeah, I don't have like a major idea. It would be cool to do something related to theme parks, like maybe a theme park animated comedy series could be really cool. Western Person asks, how did the characters of MML know all that transpired at the end of season 1 if the timeline was restored and the Pistachions never attempted to take over in the first place because Professor Time and Dr. Zen destroyed the first Pistachion in the end? This has always confused me. That's supposed to be confusing. That's Milo Murphy's Law's time travel. It takes a little bit of everything. Some people remember stuff. Bradley gets the plant arm. Sometimes it's like full circle where everything already happened. Sometimes you can change the timeline. Like, Milo Murphy's Law is not consistent about time travel, and that's part of what makes that season fun, and part of what completely frustrated me while watching it was trying to figure out how it worked, but it doesn't, and I think that's the brilliance of it. They didn't lock themselves into any one interpretation of time travel. So how did it happen? I don't know. Maybe their timeline people will catch up with themselves. It's really hard to say. Juniper to the Moon asks, how much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? Well, a woodchuck could chuck... My fiance knows this much better than I do.
Hi. A woodchuck would chuck as much wood as a woodchuck could chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood.
Ahmed Hussein asks, what was your favorite interview? My favorite interview was probably the Dan one, just because we got to hear we're going to the zoo, and because that was like a really huge one. But like as far as like in-depth conversations, I really liked the one I had with John and Sean. I really loved the one that I had with Megan and Andy from Hilda. And I really loved the one with Josh Perrette where he sat down for 4 full hours and talked. But I love all the interviews that I've done. I don't think there's like one that I point to and say that was a weak interview, because like they're all about getting to know these people, especially like in the quarantine ones where I was just doing the Phineas and Ferb cast. It was like half of the questions weren't even about the show. It was just about like, what are your dreams? What are your goals? What are you pursuing in the industry? And I think that was even more interesting than like asking them about the lore and stuff. What happened to Phineas and Ferb's chameleon? Where did Steve go? It's been so long since I watched that episode. I don't know where Steve went. How old are you? I am actually 21, about to turn 22. My birthday is on April 27th. So, mid-20s guy on YouTube talking about animation. Are you a full-time YouTuber? Actually, I was for about the past 2 years. I'm graduating from college in May, and I was YouTubing basically as my part-time / full-time job alongside college. So I had some scholarship money coming in, and then I had the YouTube money coming in, and combined that was enough to pay for college and housing, and that's why I've kept doing YouTube, because I actually ended up making more on YouTube than I did at my part-time job that I had for the first 2 years of college. So that was really cool. I don't think YouTube will be able to sustain me once I leave college, so it'll probably become more sporadic and I'll get like a real job. But essentially for the past 2 years, yeah, YouTube has been my full-time job, which has been really awesome. So thank you to everybody watching, because it would not be possible without you. Space Core asks, which was your favorite backdoor pilot, and what do you think an episode of that, if it was given the green light, would look like? I guess like there was what, OWCA Files, and there was Doof 101, there was the Actor Age technique. Well, Actor Age was never really meant to be a pilot. I guess you could call Return to the Second Dimension, but everything that I've heard indicates that like wasn't actually considered as a series. I guess OWCA Files, if only just to see the little lore bits that Josh teased. I feel like there was like a lot of potential for OWCA Files to be more than what it turned out to be, which was like a Disney Junior-esque show as far as tone. We'll see how Hamster and Gretel turns out, though. It's supposed to be all ages as well, and it's supposedly done really well with test audiences. So I'm legitimately excited for new Dan content in Hamster and Gretel. Like, I know a lot of people are clowning on it, but like, I can't wait to cover it. And I mean, it's also free real estate as far as the YouTube market, because I mean, who else is going to cover Hamster and Gretel in depth every week? Okay, maybe I won't talk about it every week, but like, you know what I'm saying. A Chronicle asks, how do you do interviews with such great people? It's funny, you know, it started during quarantine. I really thought, hey, it would be a fun thing since everybody's learning to use Zoom and this is becoming a thing that's like normalized, if I could reach out to people that I wanted to talk to and just see if I could get them for interviews. And so it started with Brock Powell, who was awesome, and he came on the show and talked about working on Milo, and then Aaron Daniel Jacob, and then Joshua Perrette, and it just kind of kept going from there. I was just enjoying having the interviews. The people I was reaching out to were very receptive, and I've gained a confidence, especially after those like first 3 interviews, that you know, it's one of those things that you kind of forget to realize, but like, everybody's a person. If you just ask nicely and you have enough like contacts to get the emails of the people you want, most people would love to sit and talk with you about the things that they do and that they love. And then, you know, just making sure to let them speak and, you know, really creating an environment that's conducive to interesting conversation about animation. And especially with, I think, the One Perfect Animated Scene series that I started last year, my goal was to really elevate the video essays from being opinion pieces to involving the creators of the shows in talking about, well, how did you come up with this idea? Not just like me saying, this is my favorite thing for X reason and X reason. It's like, well, no, let's talk to the creators and see how they landed on that. And I think the One Perfect Animated Scene for DuckTales, I think that's still just one of my favorites. Just the things that John and Sean had to say about that and how that episode turned out. I was really proud of that. But yeah, like even things like the Ray De Laurentiis interview for Shaggy and Scooby-Doo Get a Clue, I think that's one of the things that makes my channel different. So I'm always going to continue reaching out to people to book interviews and to teach y'all about the world of animation and how there's a lot of great people working in it, and it's a really cool community, and hopefully one day I will also be able to work in animation too. They also ask, is the design of your character based on Milo Murphy or Phineas and Ferb? It's based on a combination of styles from both of them. So it's a little bit of Milo, a little bit of Phineas. The actual design itself is modeled after Saiki K from The Disastrous Life of Saiki K, which I think there's a question about later. And then the actual uniform is purple because purple's my favorite color, like that really royal purple. The funny thing is, I had him designed before I actually had curly hair. Like, this was back when I had the long hair, I had him designed, and then I got him, you know, looking like curly haired, and now life imitates art. So that's pretty funny. But yeah, and the original design was by my friend Ray, who is on Twitter still. And then that design was adapted by Savannah Reeves, who is also on Twitter, and I will include the links if you want to follow them. I commissioned both of them because I can't draw, but I hope to learn to draw one day. Can you talk or react to Amphibia Season 3B Episode 1 if you can? You know, it's funny, I didn't really feel super strongly about this Amphibia Season 3B Episode 1. I'm hoping there will be more in Amphibia Season 3B as it continues, but yeah, the mid-season finale didn't do a lot for me. I have a One Perfect Animated Scene in mind for Marcy's takeover by the core, which I thought was like, that was like the most impressive moment to me in Amphibia Season 3 so far. But like outside of One Perfect Animated Scenes or talking about the finale, I don't know if I'll get around to talking about individual episodes, because those videos have never really done well. Like, if you look back to when Season 2 was airing, I did a video about Battle of the Bands and the dinner, and it got like maybe 5,000 views or something, and so it was just kind of like, for the amount of work that I would put in to make a video about the week's episodes, it never did super well. So that's why I don't really talk about them unless I have like something really clickbaity or big to say about Amphibia, at least on the channel. Jake asks, what's your dream project / job? Thank you, Jake. This is actually a really interesting question. So I talked a little bit earlier about how I want to potentially become an animatic editor, but like my dream since I was so young was to become a roller coaster engineer. And then I discovered I'm not that great at math and science. So I really would love to get into the media side of theme parks. I would love to work on, and this sounds maybe a little cheesy, but like For the theme park attractions, you know how there's usually like a pre-show, and that needs to be written and filmed, and then with a lot of attractions these days, there's like special media, like you have to do like special effects. Like I don't know if you've been on like Star Wars Rise of the Resistance or like any of the Universal rides, Escape from Gringotts, Forbidden Journey, Spider-Man. Just the idea of theme park attractions and working on them in a creative fashion, be it writing or media or editing, that's my ultimate goal. And I'm gonna try and work my way into the theme parks, honestly, probably before I do animation, just because I've loved theme parks for so long. I'm gonna plug my second channel, Theme Park Workshop. I talk about theme parks there a lot with my friend Adam, and so if you're interested in that sort of thing, check it out. But I would love to be a creative working on theme park attractions, or an animatic editor, or like a writer on an animated series or on a live action series, just something in that realm. And of course, full-time YouTuber would be awesome as well. Carter Vision asks, do you ever want to have a career as an animator or an animation writer? So like I mentioned before, I can't draw. Drawing is does not work for me, but I'm a really good video editor. And so I would love to be able to do animatic editing. And I just feel like that's a really hard thing to get into. Like, I want to be in the animation industry, but I can't draw. So like, I have to work my way in. I need to find other people's drawings to edit. And then one day I would love to be an animatic editor for cartoons for Nickelodeon, Disney, Cartoon Network. Like that would be a dream job, honestly. As far as writing, I have dabbled in writing. I don't have like enough samples to do anything conclusive. So I feel like if I did get into writing, it would be something where I need to be in the industry, and then I can prove my creative chops and work over to writing with like maybe a sample or two. But right now my strong suit is in video editing and post-production, so that's how I need to get into the industry. And then if I do want to eventually shift to writing with my original ideas, I'll know the people to contact to be able to prove that to, rather than, you know, creating a whole separate writing portfolio. Vive Tribal asks, how do you feel about Saiki K, and could you do a review on it? Saiki K is one of my favorite comedy series of all time. It was my gateway anime. It was the first anime series I ever like really latched onto. Absolutely hilarious. The comedic stylings are insane. The characters are great. I love everything about Saiki K. The English dub is great. I have at least 3 different video essays in my head that I could do on it. I'm debating whether or not I want to do those or do like a really long video, because there's, again, Saiki K is one of those shows that like nobody talks about on YouTube, so I could like corner the market with a longer video. I love Saiki K. That's why he's in my banner. That's why my outfit is modeled after him. 100% cannot wait to talk about him at some point. I just have to do it when I know that I can put a lot of work and effort into it to make it good, to like live up to the show, but also not bankrupt me because I put 2 months of work into it and 5 people watch it because it's not super big. Also, do you have any web series you're particularly interested in? I liked Video Game High School. I am very excited for Interstellar Ranger Commence, which premieres tomorrow where I am, but as you're watching this, the first episode is probably available to stream on Brown Table's YouTube channel, so check that out. Ethan Satterfield asks, favorite Milo Murphy's Law quote? It might be like one of Brick and Savannah's quotes from season 1, where she's like, wait, stop the car, I smell failure.
That was a close one. If it had taken us 1 minute longer, Texas would have ceased to exist.
Wait, stop the car. I smell failure.
Anything Brick and Savannah is hilarious. Zippy, the world's fastest koala, or recurring raccoon, but those are like more musical bits. So yeah, there's lots of memorable little bits, but I can't think of like a specific quote. Unless it's like from the pilot, because like I had to do the Reanimated, so I listened to that like 100 times. What? It's cold in the flu season. Bly the Penny Bicycle 21 asks, what's your favorite DreamWorks show that isn't based on a movie? I haven't seen any of the DreamWorks shows outside of Camp Cretaceous. So I haven't seen Troll Hunters, haven't seen Kipo. I know those were like really big. Glitch Techs as well. Those were just ones that I never got around to. I want to at some point. I know Troll Hunters, the whole Tales of Arcadia ends with kind of a whimper, and nobody really liked the ending, so it's like, I don't know if I want to put a lot of time into watching that when I know that it doesn't end well, because, you know, endings are very important. But maybe I'll check out Glitch Techs or something like that in the future if I'm just looking for something to binge really quick. Do you find it interesting how there's music in preschool shows done by people who worked on non-preschool shows? For example, the music from Fancy Nancy is done by TJ Hill, who would later work on Amphibia in season 1 of the Owl House, and the theme song of Sophia the First was produced by Danny Jacob. It's kind of that thing where like, if you work in animation, it doesn't really matter what you're doing. Like, obviously there's a difference between creating an all ages show and a junior show. But when you're like a musician, like, you work on anything, like, no matter what you do, you're gaining experience and you're expanding your genre horizons. So, like, you're gonna have to do, like, a lot of cartoon sound effects and, like, interesting scoring for a preschool show that, like, the kids aren't gonna notice. But, like, it's good to build your resume. So it's not like working on a preschool show is, like, less prestigious. I mean, culturally it might be, but, like, practically and technically, it's no more or less prestigious than any other show. Austin Richardson asks, what are your top 5 favorite Dwampyverse episodes and why? Love your videos and been watching since before the MML and Phineas and Ferb crossover episode. Thank you! That is a long time, so thank you for sticking around. My top 5 Dwampyverse episodes, the ones I always go back to, I find that I really love Athledecamathlon. I love First Impressions. I love Milo in Space. I love Missing Milo, and Fungus Among Us I must have watched like 100 times as far as like Milo Murphy's Law. As far as Phineas and Ferb, and I know I have a lot of questions for Phineas and Ferb favorite episodes, I always find myself going back to Thaddeus and Thor / Deplane. Just that duo of episodes cracks me up. There's so much in there, and to me that's like the embodiment of Phineas and Ferb humor and songs. And I know it's like a really weird one-off episode, but like, obviously, you know, I love Dude, We're Getting the Band Back Together. I really love Where's Perry a lot more than I think most people would. I really like Nerds of a Feather. I guess that's also a special episode. I also really like Season 4, the Gordian Knot episode. That's a really good one. Lots of Season 4. Season 4 is my favorite season of Phineas and Ferb. The New Year's episode is really good. Yeah, it's funny, I haven't done a full rewatch of Phineas and Ferb since probably before college. Like, everything that I'm talking about now is usually just the specials or the big things that I can talk about by like just watching that and discussing it, because like I watched the series through at least 5 or 6 times as a kid, so I haven't really reevaluated it as an adult yet, whereas I have with Milo. I know it's not really a top 5, but I kind of covered some of my favorites, so there you go. Ice Cream Hero asks, which software do you use to make your videos? I use Adobe Premiere Pro. I made my intro in Adobe After Effects. I make the thumbnails in Photoshop, and occasionally I'll use Audition if I need to do a special audio effect. I also used Filmstro for 1 or 2 of them, and I get all my assets from Production Crate, who are like super good. I have like a link, I'll put it in the description if you want to sign up for Production Crate, but like I've used them for like 5 years and they're fantastic. And they also ask, are you ever going to talk about more anime? You did once. I do. I want to talk about Assassination Classroom. It would be fun to talk about My Hero. It would be fun to obviously talk about Saiki K. I just know that if I put out a video like that when I need to make money on YouTube, it's not gonna do well. I did the Your Name one just because it tied to Phineas and Ferb, and so I thought maybe there's some overlapping audience who will come from Phineas and Ferb and stay for Your Name. But until YouTube just becomes a hobby again, or until I'm certain my audience is big enough, I don't want to put out a super long anime vid until I have a really strong idea of what it's gonna be, and then also knowing that I don't depend financially on the anime video doing well. Glorious Goodies asks, have you seen Gravity Falls? And if so, are you gonna make videos on it? I have seen Gravity Falls. I really enjoy it. I think I get overwhelmed with feeling like I would still have anything to say. The Gravity Falls fandom was so big when it came out, and I was not a part of it. I watched it all after it was all done. And I feel like everything that could be said about Gravity Falls was said when that happened. I did think about doing a One Perfect Animated scene for the end of season 1 where it's revealed that Stan has the other journal, because I think that scene is... I would love to talk to John Aoshima again from the DuckTales vid and talk about directing that. But, like, as far as a show, like, it works. It has a complete ending. I don't have any real hot takes about it other than, like, it's good. I guess I could make a video about, like, the worst episode of Gravity Falls, Roadside Attraction. That episode is garbage, and it's amazing that it came so close to the end of the show and that it exists. I hate the message of that episode. I think it does not teach kids good things. So maybe I'll make a video about that episode someday. But I really love, like, Seuss and the Real Girl, and obviously Weird Mageddon, and Bill Cipher. Like, I made the whole Doofenshmirtz meets Bill Cipher video a while back, Bill is one of like my favorite characters. But then again, it's like, you know, people have already talked about, here's how Bill goes through the 5 stages of grief. Here's a breakdown of his character. It's just like people a lot smarter than me have talked about Gravity Falls, and so I just don't want to retread any ground. But if there is, like, maybe I'll make a retrospective about it someday, like how I experienced Gravity Falls just as a casual fan or something. Sir Legend 5000 asks, how do you feel about Amphibia ending this season? I'm actually really happy that it's not getting over long and it's actually ending where the creator wants it to end. He said this is a 3-part story. This is the 3rd part. You can clearly see that they structured this series from the start with, you know, season 2 being Marcy's season, and then obviously she's not in season 3 a lot. Sprinkle Sasha throughout both seasons. Follow Anne the Planters the whole time. Like, there's a level of consistency to the storytelling that I really like, and it was really thought out. I think a spin-off series could be a lot of fun, like a prequel Andreas series or something like that, but at the end of the day, Matt's getting to tell the story that he wants to tell in the time that he wants to tell it. And in TV animation, that is so rare. And so I'm happy that it's ending with season 3. Good for Matt for getting to tell the full story he wanted and not getting it cut short. Foodle Animates asks, what's your favorite video that you've made? Also, congrats. Thank you. My favorite video, I think at least right now, is probably still the Shaggy and Scooby-Doo Get a Clue retrospective documentary. I put so much work into that. And I'm so proud of how the interview with Ray turned out and how the editing is. I put like over a month into editing that, so I'm very proud of that. I'm also very proud of Amphibia Reanimated. I think that's one of the best team projects I've ever done. I love Doof meets Bill Cipher still, even though that was one of my earliest videos. I still think that's hilarious. And obviously I'm proud of why Phineas and Ferb ended, because that's like the biggest video I've ever had. But yeah, let me know what y'all's favorite videos in the comments below, because I always want to hear like, what videos are you guys enjoying? DD Fernan asks, what do you think of Phineas as a character in comparison to the rest of Phineas and Ferb? I think Phineas is a great character. I mean, yeah, he's a little bit one-dimensional, but like, he's Phineas. He's pure, he's optimistic, he's the ethos of the show. So yeah, I think Phineas is great. I like how he turns from more snarky to just more pure throughout the series, and he's a really cool character. Kai Lang says, do a video, the complete timeline of the Phineas and Ferb and Milo Murphy's Law universe. I already kind of did that. I mean, like, if you mean like event by event, like going through Keystone events, that would be something different, but I already did like a breaking down the time travel and how the timelines changed a while back, so I'll link that in the card. But that video, if I were to do something like that, Charles Luhete asks, what shows have you watched that you've enjoyed or loved but don't plan to cover on your channel? Ooh, that's a good one. I have so many live action shows that I know I will just never cover on YouTube. Some of these are going to be TV-14, etc. So obviously, content warning. I love Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Oh my goodness, I could talk about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for a long time. Really love that show. I really enjoyed The Good Place. I enjoyed Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. I enjoyed Jane the Virgin. Both of those I felt like were really well written. Crazy Ex-Girlfriend had a lot of music, so that was really good. I enjoy Stranger Things a lot. I enjoy The Mandalorian. I surprisingly like The Book of Boba Fett. I like most of the Marvel TV shows. I haven't seen any of the Netflix, like Daredevil or that whole universe, but like I've seen all the Disney Plus stuff. I enjoy that. High School Musical, the series was fun for its first season. I also like Disney Channel sitcoms. Like I really like Good Luck Charlie, but there's no way to talk about that on the channel. I also really love Back to the Future. Like I know that's not a TV series, but there is the animated series, and I have thought I've never seen the Back to the Future animated series, and Back to the Future is my favorite movie, so maybe at some point we'll do a Back to the Future, the animated series retrospective. We'll have to see. Jacob Inc. asks, what would you like to see a Phineas and Ferb movie about and why? I would really love to see the Phineas and Ferb come into the real world. I mentioned earlier that I really like the idea of live action animation together, and I think Phineas and Ferb would be able to do it right and not have whatever the weird crossover shows are now. Galvin Elrod asks, thoughts on Scrappy Doo? I haven't seen any Scrappy Doo except for like one episode of What's New Scooby-Doo that had Scrappy in it. So I haven't seen the original Scrappy Doo show, and I haven't even seen the live action Scooby-Doo movies, which I know is like, how can you like Scooby-Doo and not see them? But I do want to check them out. I'm curious what everybody thinks of Scrappy. I feel like I would really enjoy Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated for its like serialization overarching story, and I feel like I would also really enjoy Be Cool Scooby-Doo, because from like the couple episodes that I've seen, it's like really funny. It was largely written by one of the Phineas and Ferb writers. So I definitely would love to dive more into Scooby, but Scooby's one of those things like, I really like Scooby-Doo, and then I have to take a break from it because there's just so much Scooby-Doo. Like, imagine if I were to do like a complete Scooby-Doo retrospective. And there's also other YouTubers out there who cover Scooby better than I could, like Billum and NerdSync. So again, it's about like, what can I cover the best? Not that I wouldn't want to share my opinion on another show, but like, I don't want to infringe on like others' territory where like they have expertise. That wasn't even the question. The question is, what do I think of Scrappy Doo? I guess fine. And also, would an OWCA spinoff show work? I think it would. I think you could easily do an OWCA spinoff show. I don't think the OWCA Files is necessarily maybe the best version of that, but I think a spinoff about OWCA and its operations has a lot of potential. Jake Black asks, can you do theories and reactions of the show called The Owl House? Here's the thing. This is funny. This bounces right off the last question. So many other people who are smarter than me have talked about The Owl House and are doing theories and stuff. Kevin at Roundtable, he's done fantastic Owl House theories. Hey, Rebecca Rose does like great reactions, and now she's working on the show. There have been so many like video essays about everything regarding Owl House. It's just one of those shows where I can't really think of anything unique to say. I'll probably do an Emperor Bellos versus King Andreas, breaking down the two big bads, or maybe if Owl House has a bigger bad, like bigger bad versus the core from Amphibia. But other than that, like, I don't feel like there's anything for me to add to the conversation around Owl House. That's why the only video I've made about it is the Lego Ida, because nobody had explained Lego Ida, and that did pretty good on numbers. So it's just about finding, okay, what can I say that's unique about the Owl House before I make a video? I post like initial reactions to when episodes air on Twitter, but maybe I'll also do audio reviews of that show on Patreon if there's enough demand for it. But yeah, to kind of tie into that, like that's why I made the Ghost of Molly McGee theory videos, because nobody else on YouTube is theorizing about that show really. So that was like, okay, let me try to put something new out there instead of jumping on a bandwagon. Madison Van Scoter asks, if someone who had never seen Phineas and Ferb or Milo Murphy's Law asked you for a recommendation on which episode to watch first, which would you choose? The one that I always showed, specifically of Milo, because most people were already into Phineas and Ferb, it's Alphadecamathlon and Secrets and Pies. I think that is such a strong combo pairing of episodes that really shows what Milo Murphy's Law is and how good it is, rather than the pilot. Because when you finish watching The Undergrounders, you're just like, oh yeah, I'll watch Milo Murphy's Law at some point, because The Undergrounders is such a mediocre episode. And then for Phineas and Ferb, I mean, I'd start with Roller Coaster. I mean, obviously you could do really any episode. I know I really like Ladies and Gentlemen Meet Max Modems, and We Call It Maze. That's okay. So yeah, going back to favorite Phineas and Ferb regular episodes, that's another one of my favorite pairs. But yeah, with Phineas and Ferb, I'd say you start from the beginning and you watch it all the way through. Like, the first episodes speak pretty well for themselves and do a good job of establishing the show. Thomas asks, which would you want to bring back? Phineas and Ferb, Milo Murphy's Law, or Star versus the Forces of Evil? Easily Milo Murphy's Law. I want to see how it was supposed to end. Star had 4 seasons, and apparently there were more plans, but like if you have a serialized cartoon, there should not be more plans beyond season 4, especially if you're on Disney, because when has a Disney cartoon ever gotten more than 4 seasons? Like, as a writer, you should know, hey, we're going into this network that has never greenlit a cartoon for more than 4 seasons. Maybe we should have our story wrapped up by season 4. So Milo Murphy's Law obviously thought it was getting a 3rd season, and Phineas and Ferb also ended perfectly, so I don't need any more of it. Blocks Luna asks, what was the video that took you the longest to make? Probably the Shaggy and Scooby-Doo Get a Clue one, as far as like the editing process. I've had videos like in production for over a year-ish, like in various levels of it. 'Cause like, if you're talking about like idea to completion, it can take like a year to 2 years for an idea that I have to finally make it to the channel. Like the top 10 Tangled Songs video, I probably had that idea for like 8 or 9 months before that actually became a video. The Shaggy and Scooby-Doo video idea, I had well over a year before I started production on that, just because I was waiting for the right time to make it. I have like an entire document of videos that I want to do, and there's some things that just take time to get done because they need to be done in parts. So like, I have a secret project I'm not gonna give a lot of details about it. I basically wrote it last October, November, like co-wrote it, and then it has been in hibernation just because it needs a specific thing to be done that I have not had the time to do. And I don't anticipate it coming out until maybe August or September of this year, depending on how things go. Okay, so a really good example of this is I've had this Christmas episode that I've wanted to do about how to make a great Christmas cartoon episode. I have had it planned for Christmas of 2020 and Christmas of 2021. In both years, I had something else come up where I couldn't make it. And so, like, the script outline is just sitting there waiting for me to flesh it out, and I'm hoping I'll get to it in 2022. But, like, that is essentially probably going to be the same video that I would have made 2 years ago. It's just I haven't gotten around to it. So, I hope that answers the question. How did you find Amphibia and Phineas and Ferb? Okay, so I found Amphibia just because it was airing at the time, and I was following it from the announcement and everything, and I was just kind of curious. I didn't watch any of season 1 until it was all already on Disney Plus, and I just really, the last episode reunion is what hooked me and made me want to talk about it once I realized that, hey, there's more going on here than just the episodes. And so that was when I started the theorizing. For Phineas and Ferb, it's actually a really interesting story. I have like a lot of individual memories. I do remember that Deplane was the first episode of Phineas and Ferb that I ever saw, because I specifically remember the Doof joke where his mom doesn't let him into the pool, and that's his whole backstory. And I like have this very specific memory of that being funny. I remember that, like watching that at like a hotel or something. And then I have another memory of being on like a family vacation where I saw Bully Bromance break up, and I was like, that was like the only thing I wanted to watch. Like I was excited because I was potentially see Phineas and Ferb again, because like we didn't have cable. And then finally one of my dad's friends came over, and I was super obsessed with roller coasters, and so he showed me the roller coaster episode like on YouTube. And at that point on, it was, okay, I really like this. And then we didn't have cable still, but we got Netflix, and Netflix had Phineas and Ferb. And I really got into Phineas and Ferb via Netflix. The only episode of Phineas and Ferb I ever saw premiere live was at my grandparents' house, and that was La Candace Cabra and Happy Birthday Isabella. And that was the only episode I ever saw premiere live. I didn't see the Second Dimension movie until like my sister bought it on DVD for me for Christmas. But yeah, that's how I got into both of those shows. What's next for the Cartoons Reanimated series? Well, Infinity Train Reanimated, applications open and closed in about a week. I have already contacted most people who are involved in that. As far as like reanimated projects down the line, maybe Ghost of Molly McGee Reanimated. I really like that pilot. Hamster and Gretel Reanimated maybe a couple years down the line. It would be fun to do more 22-minute episodes, but they're just too big for me to handle. Like I already have such a hard time handling 70 people for an 11-minute as it is. I would need a second person to organize it with, and I just don't have the bandwidth to co-manage a project. I really only have the bandwidth to be able to manage something all myself, if that makes any sense. So yeah, just whatever cartoons I'm interested in, and I feel like once you get like 2 seasons in, like the fandom has enough in-jokes to like make those interesting. Like that's why Ghost of Molly McGee wasn't the next one, because like I feel like you'll be able to do a lot more once you've seen more of what the writers have in store for the show. Curling Bercy asks, you did a top 10 underrated Phineas and Ferb song video. Can you make a top 10 of your favorite Phineas and Ferb song? It's so funny, and I'll probably get this question again later, but like, I don't think I know my top 10 Phineas and Ferb songs. It's easier when I have to pick from the underrated ones, because then it's like, okay, I can pick from these. When I have the full width of Phineas and Ferb songs to pick from, it's just overwhelming. I think Us Against the Universe is like my number one. I don't have any issues saying that Us Against the Universe is my favorite Phineas and Ferb song, but like when you look at like the entire series, like that's a lot of pressure. But maybe one day I'll do a full Phineas and Ferb top 10 when I've just had more time to think about it. CF Create Stuffs asks, do you ever think you would cover something such as Centaur World, due to that being slightly similar to the scope of such shows like Amphibia and the Owl House? I have been interested in Centaur World. I could see myself covering it. I just haven't gotten around to watching it yet. I've heard good things, and I like musicals, so yeah, I could definitely see myself covering Centaur World in the future. Rex Evans asks, if you were to have any character in existence crossover with any cartoon you have talked about, what would they be and why? It would be fun for Phineas and Ferb to meet Doc and Marty. I think that would be a really cool character crossover. I think it would be fun for Saiki K to visit either of the Dwampy worlds. I feel like those shows are just so different in tone, though. That's the thing, crossovers are like, they're so hard to get right, and especially with clashing art styles. But yeah, or even Bill Cipher. Bill Cipher as a Phineas and Ferb villain would be really fun. Also, favorite and least favorite movie and TV shows work as well. Yeah, favorite movie, Back to the Future. I love Your Name. I love Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl. Monsters, Inc. I really like. And least favorite movies, I have way too many to count from film school. Like, there's pretentious movies and there's just plain bad movies, and I prefer to talk about positive things, so I will leave that be for now. Death Numb asks, what is the most underrated and the most overrated Disney show? Underrated is Milo Murphy's Law, obviously. I think season 1 of Big Hero 6 is pretty underrated. I think it's a really solid season of television that got crushed by how completely horrendous seasons 2 and 3 were. Probably the most overrated is Owl House. I think people hype up Owl House too much. I think it's a really strong show, but I don't think it's as... And this is probably just because of studio interference, but like, the first season wasn't as strong as a lot of other Disney shows. So Owl House is probably overrated. Gravity Falls also gets a bit overrated, I think, but that was just because of the culture and hype surrounding it. Charles Bacho asks, do you prefer American animation or animation from places like England or Japan? Again, I think all animation is good. I haven't seen any from England that I know of, really, but I like, I obviously like anime, I like anime films, and I like American stuff. There's good and bad in all places, so I don't like to categorize, but like, hey, I like this more, especially when it just comes to like where things are made and not like genres. Waves Gabe asks, do you have any interviews that you plan on doing anytime soon? I had one planned with Martin Olson that has just been postponed. I need to reply to his email. Sorry, Martin. And I have a couple planned for the big Word Girl video that's coming up that I haven't like booked yet. And it would be really cool to get some people from Amphibia on to talk around the time of the finale if possible. So maybe I'll do that. But yeah, as far as interviews, I mostly book those on I have a video about this, so I would also like an interview basis. It's like the Hilda movie came out. All right, let's talk to the Hilda crew again and like make that like a double feature. So you have those two videos come out together. Because interviews, the thing is, like, they never do well by themselves. I don't think I've ever had an interview video other than the Dan one crack, like, 6,000 views. They're really for the true fans, which is why I like to do them. But they're not something that I'm going to be like, hey, let's just make an entire schedule of just interviews. Because if I did, they wouldn't do super well. Maybe I should put them on a second channel and do that. But I don't know. I like having them on the main channel so that, like, if you see... hey, here's this video, oh, here's the full interview right next to it. I think that's really cool, and I feel like a lot of people have probably discovered them and listened to something they probably wouldn't have otherwise listened to. Captain Crazy Creative asks, have you seen The Dragon Prince? If so, thoughts? I have not seen The Dragon Prince, so I have no thoughts, but maybe someday. I'm open to it. It's one that, again, I've heard about, just haven't seen. Harrison Bollinger asks, what's your favorite and least favorite Phineas and Ferb episode? So I've already touched on my favorites. Least favorite, definitively, without a doubt, has to be Remains of the Platypus. I have no desire to ever revisit that episode. It leans into the shock humor and the gross outness, and it's just not good. I just do not like that episode. I mean, like, Boyfriend from 20,000 BC was pretty bad. There's ones that I'm just like not a huge fan of, like Road to Danville, that like I just don't need to revisit. But I'd say, yeah, any of those, obviously with Remains of the Platypus being just the bottom of the barrel for what Phineas and Ferb can be. Toad Zero Cooley asks, if you could enter any fictional world from books, games, movies, TV shows, etc., what would you and why? I think it would be really cool to enter the world of the Kingdom Keepers from the Kingdom Keepers books. I know not a lot of people have read them. There was talk about turning it into a TV show, which, oh my goodness, if they made a Kingdom Keepers TV show, I would pass away and yes, but the Kingdom Keepers, that whole world and the idea of getting to bring all the Disney characters to life after dark in the parks, like, it's scary, but like that was like some top tier stuff, especially as a kid. Like that enthralled me to think about. Sharp asks, is this what you do in your free time, or do you have a job outside the channel? Okay, yeah, so I touched on this a little bit earlier, but I do the channel full time right now, but this is probably like one of the last months that I'm gonna be doing it full time, just because I need to find another job. I'm getting married soon, and I need to provide for my wife with health insurance. So unfortunately, YouTube doesn't offer that. In addition to the increased self-employment tax here we have in America, it's just like we need taxes to go down and health insurance to go up, and so YouTube will just be supplemental for the time being going forward. But I still want to do YouTube. I'm not quitting or anything. Not asks, what inspired you to make your OC? I don't know how to put it. So my little character, I talked about this a little bit earlier, but really I wanted a way to convey information. Obviously I was inspired by the not VTubers, but I guess the PNG tubers as they're called, like Saberspark and LS Mark, and I think those two were probably the biggest inspirations as far as like what I wanted to do. But I mean, like there's like, I think every animation YouTuber has tried the PNG thing at some point, and for me it was like kind of a step up into, all right, let's make the channel a little bit more professional and more engaging than just the video editing. And it also gave me a way to talk about things without needing a footage clip to show for everything, which makes things a little bit easier. Brandon Habe asks, are you going to still talk about Phineas and Ferb and Milo Murphy's Law? Absolutely. I will never be done with things to talk about with Phineas and Ferb. There will always be another video to make on it, and I'm sure Disney's going to continue it. So I'll always come back to that well, just because those videos do really well, and because there's more to say. I forget that like most of my early content wasn't about Phineas and Ferb, it was about Milo. And it would be fun to do like a full hour-long Milo retrospective at some point. But yeah, don't worry, there will always be Phineas and Milo content, and Hamster and Gretel as well. Jeng asks, which do you like more, Milo or Phineas? If we're talking about the characters, I think I like Milo more as a character. I feel like I relate to Milo more. If we're talking shows, I think Phineas and Ferb is the better show by far, but I think Milo probably means more to me personally, just because of how like deeply invested I was in the fandom and the story of that show. Sophia Hernandez asks, favorite Milo Murphy's Law characters and why? I love Cavendish and Dakota. They're just so funny. I think that's not like a particularly hot take, but like the Cavendish and Dakota stories are often more interesting than the Milo and Friends stories. I also really like Mr. Draco. I like his dad, Martin. And I really like Amanda. And Melissa and Zach. It's like, what are your favorites? All of them! No. And of course, my number one Milo Murphy's Law character is actually featured in my banner, Judge Concentric Circles. Best character in the entire show. No. Judge Concentric Circles is like a meme that I want to get started on the channel. I just haven't invested in. I need to make Judge Concentric Circles a better meme, because I just think that is just one of the funniest things in all of Milo. I also love Recurring Raccoon, obviously. I have the shirt. Miles Spear asks, are waffles just pancakes with abs? You know, I've never really thought about it. I'm gonna go with yes. Justice Goodwin asks, Mission Marvel or Star Wars? Star Wars, but I have so many more thoughts on that, and that's going to be a whole separate video as Mission Marvel versus Star Wars Battle of the Crossovers. That'll be in a couple months. Henry Smith asks, you can make your own Milo Murphy's Law episodes to make like the show is still going. That would be expensive, and I just don't have the money for that. That would be a fun fan project to like animate like a finale to Milo Murphy's Law and like cast voices. That's certainly possible. I couldn't do a whole like another season, but I could probably get together a team and make like a grand finale episode. I think there's enough interest for that. Garrett Brunner asks, question, how do you eat your cereal? Pour the cereal first, then the milk, and then I eat. And sometimes I'll eat cereal dry. If I'm just like looking for a snack, I'll pour like Captain Crunch, and that's my snack. Asa Ross asks, what do you think about anime as a whole? How would you compare it to the cartoons we have here? I love anime. I am always down for trying new anime. Right now I'm going through Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood with my fiance. For the first time, I know nothing, so no spoilers in the comments, please. But anime is a great time. I love seeing the My Hero Academia movies in theaters. I tried Nichijou, wasn't really for me. I tried Mob Psycho 100, wasn't really for me. I still need to watch One Punch Man. I liked the first season of Fruits Basket, but I haven't kept up with it since. There's a lot of great anime out there, And it's so funny to me because, like, Assassination Classroom feels like a Japanese version of Gravity Falls. Not in the sense of, like, tone or anything, but in the sense of, like, we have a 2-season structure and big twist is revealed midway through season 2. So, like, they're both good in their own right. I think anime does do a good job of exploring more mature themes. But, you know, we've seen that in Western stuff with, like, Infinity Train, Amphibia, and Owl House are obviously all pushing things forward. So, yeah, and it's like, obviously a lot of the creators today are also inspired by anime. So I think there's good in both, and you should absolutely watch both. And don't judge anime, don't judge Western. And like I said, there's some Western cartoons, like the Marvel Disney XD shows, that, like, I just have a hard time with the art style. Unless the same is true for anime. There's some anime that I don't like the art style, but I like the art style of anime in general. John Comey asks, who's your favorite Phineas and Ferb character and why? My favorite Phineas and Ferb characters, I have 2 of them, Stacy and Rodney. If you ask me why, I just think Stacy is the coolest. I think her personality plays off Candace so well, and her finding out about Perry is great, and like her interactions with like Phineas and Ferb and the kids are always so wholesome, and I don't know, it's just like always a good time when Stacy shows up in the show. And then Rodney is just so funny because the idea of Doof getting annoyed with somebody who's also evil is just hilarious, and then giving him the voice of just Marvin the Martian, it's Rodney just makes me laugh. Jamie asks, can you please make a video of the forgotten Disney game Split Second? So I've never heard of Split Second, so I don't want to make a video about it. I think there's probably other people much more qualified than me to talk about Split Second, because yeah, it doesn't even ring a bell for me. M167A1 asks, maybe have a look at the French cartoon Zig and Sharko, available on YouTube and Netflix. Okay, so I have seen a couple episodes of Zig and Sharko. I think it's very fun, and like it's very just good comfort TV. Like it's just like you said here, it's classic Looney Tunes. If you're looking for that, it's really good. The characters are fun. The stories are like totally based on visuals. I like Zig and Sharko. Master Food the Doctor asks, do you think that Milo should have been in Candace Against the Universe? Absolutely. Of course Milo should have been. Like, the fact that they didn't orchestrate a Milo cameo, it makes me sad, because like Milo is such a big part of that universe. So yes, Milo 100% should have had a cameo. Sharuba asks, what type of music do you listen to? Answering Phineas and Ferb or Milo Murphy's Law music is cheating. Dang it. I have like a very eclectic music taste. I like listening to music from whatever I have watched recently, or like whatever I get into. I tend to like a lot of Broadway show tunes. I tend to like just very generic pop. I like jazz. I like some like older stuff. Like, for example, like when the Guardians of the Galaxy's movies came out, like I listened to those soundtracks and then those songs got into my rotation. Just, yeah, anything that's like a musical that has like a soundtrack, like I'll listen to the score while I work and then the songs elsewhere and then move on from it and then I'll come back to it later. Like it's so weird. I am the type of person who would rather replay it, a single song, for like an hour to help me focus while working than have like a whole playlist. And I know that sounds like super strange, but like I'm the type of person who sadly likes to wear out a song and then move on. And I know some people don't like to do that, but for me, I like to like get as much enjoyment out of a song while I'm like vibing with it as I can. Janky Games asks, what's your favorite animation studio? I don't really have a favorite studio. If you're talking like anime studios, like there's not one specific studio that I like. But if you're talking about like Phineas and Ferb, I think Synergy is my favorite of the studios that worked on Phineas and Ferb easily. And they also worked on Milo. Life Pizza asks, what's next for you after some of the bigger shows end? Like I said, I'm going to be transitioning out of YouTube as a part-time job and doing it more of as a hobby, because I'm going to try and find a real job. YouTuber is a real job, and well, hopefully one day I can become a full-time YouTuber. But after Amphibia and Owl House, and I think I'll still have plenty to talk about. Like I said, I have like videos that have been like just in concept for like 2 whole years that I'll finally be like, hey, I have time to make it because I don't have to cover whatever's coming out now. I feel like Ghost of Molly McGee will have more to talk about as that goes on, so I'll probably talk about that. Obviously, you know, with Amphibia and Owl House ending, it's like it is kind of the end of an era, but at the same time, Hamster and Gretel is just starting, and whether or not I enjoy Hamster and Gretel, I'm probably still going to cover it just because I have such a, deep connection to the Dan and Swampy shows and universe, and I'll be able to make top 10 Hamster and Gretel, Phineas and Ferb references, or recurring raccoon cameo compilation. Like, I will be the YouTuber most equipped to cover Hamster and Gretel. So for the next 4 years at least, given Disney's airing schedule, you're gonna have Hamster and Gretel content at the bare minimum on the channel. And of course, I still want to expand and talk about other shows. I haven't seen, like I was saying, Scooby-Doo Mystery Inc. or like all these shows that you guys are suggesting for me to watch. There's so much that I can talk about. It's just figuring out what is an attractive spin to put on it that's going to get the clicks necessary. And that's not to say views are everything, because they aren't. Obviously, I like making videos just to make videos. But when you have fewer and you're using YouTube as like a financial booster, you want to make sure that like they have really broad appeal. So that means I'm not always going to make the videos that I want to make first. And so what you've seen over the past 2 years is me making a combination of some of the videos I want to make and then the videos that I know will do well. And so as we move forward, you'll probably see more just the videos that I want to make. So that means the channel will diversify and talk about like maybe more niche things, but hopefully still good, and hopefully you'll stick along for the ride and enjoy it. Ethan Doyle asks, if you could, how would you do a season 4 of DuckTales 2017? I honestly think it would just come down to figuring out what the next overarching story is, because you had Bradford and like that whole thing was set up from the first episode of DuckTales. So I would need to figure out, all right, what's the next overarching story? And then of course, once you have that figured out, once you have the arcs figured out for the characters, then you can go into continuing like little episodic stories of DuckTales. And that was what made DuckTales fun, was you had the big stuff that was all set up and thought out, but you also had the individual 22-minute stories that just kind of existed on their own. I think slice of life with the villains was always my favorite thing. So if I was to do a season 4, you obviously have Darkwing and you have Negaduck, so you have that plot line is really the only open-ended thing. So from there, it's like, just build on the familial comedy. It's like, all right, you have Webby and her clones, and so what does that look like? What's that? How does that dynamic play out? Like, all of DuckTales is about building off of the open ends of character relationships from previous seasons. Like, that's what made things like Boyd so interesting, just like getting introduced at Doofus Drake's birthday party and then becoming like a fully fleshed out character in the next season. I feel like there's plenty of characters left in DuckTales to do that with and to give interesting pairing episodes to. And so that's probably where I'd take season 4. This name, which I can't pronounce, asks, what Russian cartoons do you know? Do you like them? I have actually not seen any Russian cartoons, so I couldn't tell you. I'm sorry, that might just be me being an ignorant American, but yeah, I haven't seen any Russian cartoons personally. Jordy asks, what's your opinion on Pixar movies? I have so many thoughts on Pixar movies. Monsters, Inc. is one of my favorite movies of all time. Love Monsters University. So many of the Pixar movies are great. Incredibles is like a perfect movie. Incredibles 2 is the worst Pixar movie, in my opinion. Incredibles 2 just was such a letdown after the first one. And Cars 2 is better than people give it credit for. The score by Michael Giacchino, chef's kiss. But overall, I really like Pixar. I guess the hot thing to give a take on right now is Turning Red. I really enjoyed Turning Red. I thought it was really well done, and I liked Domi Shi, and I liked her Bao short film as well, so I'm excited to see what she does. And I love Inside Out. I love Coco. Coco's so good. 21 Gamer asks, Ferbnessa or Phinbella? Phinbella. Juan Carlos asks, Phineas and Ferb couples healthy to toxic, and why? Healthy, like Phineas and Isabella would be healthy long term, but like what we see in the show isn't super healthy. It's just one-sided pining and ignorance. Like maybe Doof and Charlene are toxic, but they're like on good terms. Linda and Lawrence are wholesome. Here's the thing, I'm not super into shipping. I know a lot of people like shipping is a huge part of the show. I've never been super into it. The most I got into it was with Milo Murphy's Law. I just had to defend against the Milo-Lissa people who thought Milo should be shipped with Melissa and that whole craziness, but I digress. I think Phineas and Ferb, Isabella and Phineas are probably the healthiest couple long term, and the most toxic couple, probably Baljeet and Ginger, based off of what we see in Act Your Age, where they're like they're manipulating the situation. Like, that's not healthy. That's really toxic. So I'm gonna go with Baljeet and Ginger. Michael Tries to Game asks, any tips on growing a channel? Currently, I'm trying to grow an animation-based channel and I only have 43 subs. Any tips? Okay, yes. So for growing a YouTube channel, if you're looking for like videos to watch to encourage you and help you grow, vidIQ has really good videos, and Nate from Channel Makers, he has dozens of really great videos on how to help you. I still watch them, and I'm at 50,000 subscribers, and like I'm still applying tips from those regularly. So if you're looking for tips, go to them. As far as like my personal advice, I would say obviously keep making videos. I know it sounds cliche, but like don't stop, because you have to keep making videos for things to grow. Don't expect things to blow up, even though that's what happened to me. But so it's like, it's kind of hypocritical to say that, but like only that one video did. Like it took a while for me to gain any real like audience retention. Like I had a couple videos blow up, but like nobody was subscribing that first video because it was my only video. It was like, oh, let me check the channel. There's nothing there. My other thing would just be to remember that at the start, nobody who's watching is coming to your channel for your opinion at this point. So the goal that you should have in YouTube is to transition a channel from being about topics to being about having the viewers care about you. So for example, when my channel started, people were curious about the Milo Murphy's Law and Phineas and Ferb crossover, and so they came to my channel to watch videos about that. And then over time, as people watch more videos, they learn to like your style and your voice and what you have to say. So then you have people who will watch whatever you put out because they're interested in hearing what you have to say, not necessarily the topic. So the goal starting out is create searchable content. Make videos about things that people are asking for and are relevant. So really try to aim for things that are searchable that you don't see people covering. So like, what's a video that you would want to see? And if nobody else is making that video how you would want to make that video, because odds are somebody is searching for it. And it can also help to like look at YouTube autofill to see what people are searching for. Like for example, when I made my which Phineas and Ferb movie is better video, I typed that into the YouTube search bar, and that was one of the things that autofilled. And so I knew that that would be a good video to make because there were people searching which Phineas and Ferb movie is better. So now for the rest of my time on YouTube, anytime somebody searches which Phineas and Ferb movie is better, my video is at the top of the search results. And so that's how you build your audience, is through search and clickability, but not trying to do the same thing as everybody else. So like, that's why Minecraft Let's Play channels have such a hard time getting off the ground, because it's like, okay, how are they even gonna find you in search? Nobody's gonna find you in search. So you have to be found through search first, and then once you've done that, you can start to branch out once you've like built your audience. Ania asks, what's your favorite Milo Murphy's Law episode? If I had to pick one, Missing Milo. Missing Milo, masterpiece, beginning to end. Janae and Family asks, have you given up on Milo Murphy's Law coming back? I hate to say this, but I have. I don't think Disney wants it to come back. I'm not hopeless about seeing the Milo characters again. I think Dan will sneak a couple Milo cameos into Hamster and Gretel, and probably we'll see more Phineas as well. We probably get at least one more Phineas and Ferb thing within the next 5 to 10 years, and I would be very surprised if we didn't see a Milo cameo in that, if not like just some of the side characters. But yeah, I don't think Milo coming back for a season 3 makes any financial sense for Disney, and so I've kind of lost hope for it. Mr. Eraser asks, what's 77 plus 33? It's 110. It's 110. It's not that hard. Juan Carlos asks, Phineas and Ferb favorite couple and why? Stacy and Coltrane. I think that goes with Stacy being my favorite character, but yeah, Stacy and Coltrane. Jamie Weber asks, who would win in a fight, Frobo or Gizmoduck? Okay. I think Frobo has the sheer power and tactical abilities, but I think Gizmoduck probably has the wider arsenal. I feel like Gizmoduck is smarter, but Gizmoduck is also really clumsy. Based off of Frobo's first attack in Friender Frobo, I feel like he's kind of indestructible with the weapons that he has, but at the same time, it's like they were getting chopped to bits in True Colors so easily. This is a really tough question. I'm gonna land on Gizmoduck. I'm not 100% sure. Interstellar Grapefruit asks, opinions on the hit game Fortnite. I've never played Fortnite, or at least I haven't that I can remember. I might have like once, but I never really got into Fortnite. I just think it was funny that they sent out Palpatine's voicemail from The Rise of Skywalker in Fortnite. That is insane. I'm sure it's a lot of fun. I've just never gotten into it. Muhammad Dagger asks, do you like meat or chicken, or are you vegan? I'm not vegan or vegetarian. I don't really have any specific diet, and I love chicken and I love meat. Chicken is probably my favorite type of meat, to be honest. So yeah. Kian Carlisle asks, 20-hour episode by episode analysis of every Phineas and Ferb episode. When? Oh, my friend. I'm not doing a Phineas and Ferb retrospective, at least not for a while, for a couple reasons. Nintendo already did a Phineas and Ferb retrospective, and that just sounds exhausting. To talk about every single Phineas and Ferb episode, I know like Ellis Mark did that with like his Simpsons and Family Guy videos. That just, with my editing style, I would be so overwhelmed. So yeah, no. Full Phineas and Ferb retrospective, maybe like 15 to 20 years down the line when everything's set in stone. Kieran asks, if you could host another Amphibia Reanimated, which episode would you choose next? I would do either Olivia and Yunin, because I feel like there's a lot of fun you could have with Olivia and Yunin, or I would do True Colors, but I would need such a big team to pull off True Colors. Thomas asks, hi, I heard rumors about the third Phineas and Ferb movie saying officially in development. Will it be real? Development has certainly occurred on the third Phineas and Ferb movie. Nothing official, like, it's more just Dan and Swampy have written pitches, and Disney's trying to figure out which one of them they want, and then they can flesh it out. But it's not confirmed, it's not greenlit, there's no, like, it's all just behind the scenes work. It's not official. Ethan asks, what's your favorite part of what you do? My favorite part of what I do is the editing. I love editing. Editing is my passion. Writing is fine, and filming is pleasant, and every St. Pheasant's Day I ate a fizz pheasant. But editing is number one. I love editing, and I love the feeling of interacting with the fans and enjoying premieres. Like, that whole fandom culture around the show's releasing is great, as well as like releasing an episode. Like, there's no better feeling than like getting lunch after I've put out a video and it's performing well. Like, that's like one of my favorite parts of the whole job. But I love just getting to talk about what I want too, and like I said, editing is really my passion. I also love surprising people. I like when people are surprised by my videos. Kai asks, what's your opinion on Over the Garden Wall if you've seen it? And would you do any videos on it? Been here before 1K. Wow, since before 1K. That is awesome. Thank you for sticking around so long. I have seen Over the Garden Wall, and I was not in the right mindset when I watched it. I feel like I was expecting something different than what it was. I was not expecting the atmospheric, kind of like mysterious show that it was, and I also binged it all in one sitting, so I really want to revisit it. But I think that's definitely a show that has the potential for me to do a video on it. I think the hard thing with that, and this is gonna sound so silly, but I'm not huge on the character designs or art style of the show. So like, looking at it, like, there's a lot of beautiful stuff, but I just can't get over the main characters' designs. So that like makes it unappealing to rewatch. But that is a show that I would like to talk about at some point. Rymation asks, favorite Infinity Train book? Book 3. Easy. Not even close. Book 2 is probably my least favorite. Book 1 is second favorite, and Book 4 is third favorite. Imaginative 155 asks, if in a future we have a confirmed season 3 of Milo Murphy's Law and you can work writing the story, what plot would you write? Congrats from Mexico. Thank you. Awesome to know I have people in Mexico watching. I would definitely go with the hopping through dimensions. Seeing Milo in different dimensions would be really cool. I think there's enough pipe laid for the robot uprising. That would be really cool. And mostly, I just want to see Cavendish and Dakota's story start to make a little bit more sense. Bring them back to time travel, or at least, like, flesh out, give me an episode to flesh out Cavendish and Dakota's lives outside of their interactions with Milo. What's it like when Cavendish and Dakota get back to the future and have nothing else to do? Like, give me that for their characters. That's really what I want most. Dewberry asks, what would you like to see from a season 5 of Phineas and Ferb? I just want to see more of the same. Just give the kids more adventures. I mean, if you were gonna do like a different season 5, it would be fun to see a school season, but that was like kind of like that was what they did with Milo Murphy's Law. So yeah, honestly, I don't even know if I would want a Phineas and Ferb season 5. I would rather have Milo season 3, because I just feel like Phineas and Ferb did end at a really good time. They had told basically every story I think they wanted to tell, and I respect that. I wouldn't want the show to become oblong. Madeline asks, do you prefer Phineas and Ferb or Milo Murphy's Law? Wow, that is a tough question. Milo Murphy's Law means more to me, but I'm more likely to rewatch Phineas and Ferb just because I can jump in at any time. If I had to pick one though, I'm gonna say I prefer Milo Murphy's Law. I mean, it's the one that means more to me. But I can also, like, in my heart acknowledge that Phineas and Ferb is overall a better show than Milo was. Also, what show have you yet to watch that's buried on your watch list? Kid Cosmic. Kid Cosmic has been buried on my watch list for a while, and I really want to get around to Kid Cosmic. Letty asks, what does animation mean to you? Animation, at the end of the day, it's just a medium. But I love it because I love the passion and the inspiration that animation provides, the creativity, how it forces you to pick every single detail to get every character tick correct down to a second, and the ability to have different art styles, to see different worlds, to just let your imagination truly run wild. I mean, people talk about Spider-Verse, but like that really did show to the general public like what is possible with animation. When you think about like Studio Ghibli, you think about Milo, you think about like more abstract stuff, animation is just a tool to unleash your imagination. That's what it means to me. And that is all the questions that I'm going to answer for today. Thank you so much for sending in your questions, everyone. I really appreciate it. And for those of you who've been around since like 1K or 5K, like, it's awesome that you're still here. Thank you so much for being a part of the channel. If you do want to support the channel financially, you can do it through Patreon. I try to keep you even more updated on the types of projects that I'm working on, with like monthly updates on what videos I have planned and how things are going, as well as like exclusive sneak access and, like I mentioned earlier, maybe some audio reviews. So definitely be sure to check out the Patreon if you want to do that. And to those of you who made it to the very end of this video, seriously, thank you. It means so much. You are true dimension hoppers. So thank you so much for watching. And I'm in Dimension 1 now, so I guess I'll see you back in Dimension 2.